after the game, he got into it with a critical Cavs fan on his way to the post-game press conference, and he wasn't too happy in his post-game press conference with a reporter either. Take a listen.
You said, it was just your game. Couldn't get into a rhythm tonight. Is that what it was, based on their defense, or just not feeling it, or what?
No, it was just pretty poor. I mean, what do you want me to say? Yeah. Seemed like you only ask questions when we lose. It's a weird thing with you, Kenny. Always come around when we lose, I swear. Yeah, okay.
Stephen A., what does this say about
Salty.
LeBron? A little salty.
He's a little salty. I mean, he had a bad performance. He knows that. And the reporter was asking about him. And I really, even though it was a bit sensitive, I don't blame him from the perspective that he said the reporter's name. That means he knows the guy. He's very familiar with the guy. And there's some history there. That makes sense, as opposed to somebody going at a reporter, that's hardly ever around. It's just asking an innocent question, doing his job. He said the reporter by name. He noticed that the reporter asks questions when he loses, as opposed to all the time. I mean, there's credence to that argument. And I think that I'm certainly not going to nitpick. Is he a bit sensitive? Fine. Was he a bit salty? Yes. Was he justified? Yeah, because he did acknowledge that he had a bad game. He didn't make any excuses for it or anything like that. And more importantly, again, he said the guy by name, and obviously he knows who the guy is that he was talking to and that he was talking about. And more importantly, I didn't find anything remotely disrespectful about it. In fact, he sounded factual. Not that I know whether it was factual or not, because I'm not at every game, but he said, quote, you're always asking questions when we lose. You never ask questions when we win. Well, that's a direct comment to a reporter that clearly he has some history with. I don't think it's for us to nitpick in that regard, even though it was a bit salty and a bit sensitive. The bottom line is it was justified in this particular situation as far as I'm concerned, and I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, LeBron did seem salty, and it kind of dampened my conspiracy theory, which was that LeBron used Game 3 the way he used that game in Toronto last season, Stephen A., to get Kevin Love going. I thought maybe he kind of pulled back a little bit to see what these guys could do if he pulled back a little bit. But his mood seems to argue that, no, there's no conspiracy here. There's no, intentional LeBron James bad game here. He really just had a bad game and is therefore salty about it, unless what he's upset about is that his guys couldn't get it done without him really dominating the ball. And what it makes me realize, Stephen A., is the fact that I even entertain those kind of thoughts as it relates to LeBron James, that I would entertain that he would sacrifice, whether or not it's true, is not even important, but just the fact that I would entertain, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, the idea that maybe he'd sacrifice a playoff game to get a team going because he's really aiming for the Warriors in the finals. He knows he's got to have his crew with him. It says so much about LeBron. I was watching the post game yesterday. It says he's operating on such a different level than everyone else. It says he's the greatest player since Michael Jordan, pretty clearly. And that includes Shaq, and that includes Duncan, and that includes Kobe. In fact, watching Shaq after the game, I was struck with the thought, and look, in my lifetime, Magic, Bird, amazing, Kobe, Duncan, Olajuwon, all great players. But there was Jordan, and now there's LeBron, and in between there was Shaq, right? Those were the different level dominant, there's nothing you could do. Their playoff numbers and wins were so ridiculous, it almost mocked the league. And I thought, Shaq wasn't as great as LeBron. And if they were both in the league right now or even back then, no one would take Shaq over LeBron. Now think about that for a second. LeBron is operating on a level and has a position in basketball that in my lifetime only Michael Jordan has. Remember when the rumor used to be, the old rumor in the NBA used to be, yeah, Jordan threw that game because the league wanted it to go 6 games or 7 or whatever it was. Fans used to say that to each other all the time because Jordan was so much better than everyone else. If he had a bad game, which almost never happened in the playoffs, or his team lost, they went to these kind of paranoid conspiracy ideas in their mind. That's where I go to with LeBron James. That's what it made me think of. That he did it on purpose, that he somehow had another reason for doing it because he's been that dominant.
You said what you get from it, the fact that you think along those lines. My response would be the fact that you're thinking along those lines is all the proof that I need that he doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence as Michael Jordan. Because even while Michael Jordan was helping to bring dudes along, he didn't cost himself games in order to do it, particularly during the postseason. That did not happen. And you got to remember the competition that he was going up against was considerably stiffer than what we're witnessing the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors go through. So in that regard, I veer left on that. I'm not saying that's how I was thinking. I'm saying if anybody is thinking like that, that's all the proof that you need not to be mentioned in LeBron in the same sentence as Jordan, because that's not something I got from watching Michael Jordan. I didn't get a guy that was willing to sacrifice games to bring dudes along. I saw a guy that was willing to sacrifice moments, particularly in the first half, trying to get you going. But when it was time, he's like, give me the damn ball, let's end this now.
Only thing is, if you recall last season, the Golden State Warriors were heavy favorites to win the whole thing. They just won 73 regular season games.
And they would have won in 5.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. LeBron, I still believe, sacrificed the game in Toronto. It's not that he's trying to lose, although that may wind up being the best thing for them. It's that he needed Kevin Love along with him. He knew if Kevin Love is just a bum, we're not going to have a chance against Golden State. And Kevin Love wasn't great in the finals, but he was closer to his real self than he had been. And I look at that game in Toronto as the turning point. And in the end, who cares how you get it done, what playoff games you win or lose? What we remember is who won the chip. And LeBron got his crew together and won the chip last year. I think that's what he's trying to do this year. Or even the fact that I would imagine it's possible tells you what you need to know about LeBron.
And Max, you obviously just alluded to the fact
I don't look at it that way, but let's move on. I don't look at it that way, though.
This
But let's
could
move on.
potentially be a good thing.